Got Charleston Southern here. Good to get back home to Williams-Brice here at noon kick on Saturday. Can't wait to the home opener. Certainly excited to get back in front of our fan base, and I appreciate how they traveled to Charlotte. They were outstanding. I wish we had been better. Charleston Southern's head coach, Autry Denson, was a great player at Notre Dame. Coached the last 4 or 5 years at Notre Dame, and his first year as a head coach there. Offensively, they're a spread team. So RPOs, they spread the ball out a good bit, and defensively more of a 4-down. They play some 3-down quarters, and middle field coverage team. They're currently shut down school-wise, so they're in Charlotte, and they're going to bus to Columbia every day, practice in our indoor, use the Doty to eat lunch and dinner every night, use the cruise facility for all their film work, use our indoor for walkthroughs, and use our weight room for to lift, and certainly we want to be able to help these guys out in a very difficult situation. And our thoughts and prayers are with everyone who's in the path of the storm. And now going on to our 4th year and having two different situations during the fall that we've dealt with this. That's we'll do anything we can do to help. And hate that they've got to go through this. Appreciate Coach Tanner and George Wynn, who have really worked hard to help Charleston Southern out in this situation to make this work. I think that everything is on point and on time for Saturday at this time, but as you guys know, you never know how this thing will manifest itself moving forward. So we'll continue to track that, and if we have any updates, I'm sure Coach Tanner will put anything out for you. But injury report, Jake Bentley has a midfoot sprain, which is commonly referred to as a Liz Frank. He will be out for an extended period of time. He's still under medical evaluation. I'll know more in the latter part of the week exactly whether he needs surgery. If he needs surgery, it's going to be a season-ending injury. If not, it's 6 or 8 weeks. But, again, I don't want to comment much further than that right now because I don't know a lot more than that until we continue to get another evaluation. But, again, hurt for Jake, senior year, giving a lot to this program. Outstanding young man, exactly how you want someone to represent the University of South Carolina, and just hurt for him during this time. Ortre and Randrikas, I think I'll know more tomorrow, but I would expect them to play. Both guys worked out with our medical staff and did some things on the field today. Aaron Sterling's got a little swelling on the knee that he had surgery on, but should play. He did not practice today, but I certainly believe he'll practice tomorrow. And then I think injury-wise we should be fine. We've made a couple changes on the offensive line. Jordan Rhodes right now would play left guard for us entering the game. And then Donnell will bump back to center. Hank will still be in the mixture there. We need to get Javon Gwynn more snaps there at right guard as far as that's concerned. Good to secondary-wise, getting JT Ebay back at safety will help us, and A.J. Turner at corner will help us with some more depth there. But I'll open it up for any questions.
Well, when did the injury happen with Jake?
I believe it was in the last play of the game. He was on the new side there at the middle of the field and slipped, and that's when generally the Liz Frank comes from someone landing on you or the turf, and he slipped on the side there, and that's when it was hurt. He told Clint he was sore after the game was over. I came in and I was already here. I stayed here, and then Clint came into my office about 10:30, 11 in the morning and said, I think there's going to be an issue with Jake here. So we got an MRI. We didn't get the results back till Sunday night. And that's when we realized that there was an issue.
Does that mean, I'm assuming Ryan Helinski is expected to start?
Right, Ryan will be the starter. DeCaron will play. DeCaron's role really hasn't changed since over a week and a half ago. He's still going to play some quarterback snaps, and we've got some things that he'll do there. He also will continue to play wide out, and Ryan will be the starter. And I got all the confidence in the world that he's going to do an outstanding job. He's prepared himself, for this opportunity, and man down, man up, and that's our mentality, and that way we'll move forward.
What is the message when you have a guy like DeCarrion who initially loses that number 2 backup spot, hangs around, and now all of a sudden he could be thrust into an even more serious role?
Right. Well, and that role to me hasn't really changed as much as is concerned. So there's nothing really has changed with him. He's been repping at quarterback even after the decision that Ryan was going to be the backup going in the game, because we still had some things we felt like DeCarrion can help us offensively. And so that role is really kind of maintained the same as far as that's concerned, and certainly will continue to enhance itself because I think he did a good job on Saturday.
Well, looking at DeCarrion, do you have to, kind of keep him back from playing receiver if he's going to be your number 2, or are you guys confident that he can handle anything?
No, mentally he's fine. He'll handle it all. He's very bright, very intelligent, and he really has embraced the role, and we're excited about it.
Will, looking at the film, what were the problems on the offensive line that led to the changes?
Well, I think as much as anything, we got too much push in the middle. We had a lot of push in the middle, and that was very difficult to step up in the pocket, difficult to get the ball further down the field, which we had planned going into the game. Throws you off rhythm as far as the routes and the things are concerned, and in the passing game, and I would say for the same thing in the running game. We ran the ball well in the first half. In the second half, the first run that Rico hit for the first down. After that, we didn't have much production running the football as far as that's concerned. A lot of it was some issues inside.
What does this offense have to do to be a little bit more explosive than what you were Saturday against North Carolina?
Well, we called 17 shots down the field. That was when, again, we do a pretty extensive quality control and self-evaluation of what we need to do, improve, and get better. And, I came in on Sunday, and one of the first questions I asked with our offensive staff is, we need to attack the field vertically. And so you go back and look at it, and we had 17 calls where the primary read is a vertical read down the field. Now, with that being said, protection breaks down, routes covered, changes the coverage, changes the read, obviously. But there were 17 shots called in the game, and not to say that they were thrown because of different reasons that I just went through. But we've got 2 guys that have been very effective in training camp, and Brian and Shy, that they got to touch the ball more. We need to get more touches to those guys where we're guaranteed we're going to get the ball in their hands regardless of the coverage or the circumstances, and that's something we've talked about.
Coach, looking back at the tape on the defense, of course, collectively you want them to play better and tackle better, but what did you think about Ernest Jones' play? And he seemed to be kind of all over the field on Saturday.
He did. He made a lot of plays, a couple of things we could have fit a little better, but I was pleased with his first real start at the mic and directing our defense and some of the things that he did. And I think he's only going to continue to improve and get better because he's a very coachable guy. He's extremely intelligent, and I thought there were some really good things he did on the field Saturday.
Well, a couple. Who would be your number 3 QB if you had to go? Urick?
Okay, Urick.
And also with the playbook and Ryan, do you guys give him the whole thing? Are you comfortable with him knowing it, or do you have to kind of scale it back?
What does he feel comfortable with is more important. It's not necessarily what we feel comfortable with. But Ryan's very intelligent. He's adapted himself well, and we got to make sure that we play well around him. And that's the most important thing. We challenged our defense. We challenged the rest of the players offensively. We need to play well around the guy.
Hey, Coach, this is your first season opening loss as a head coach, and I know you've been a part of staffs before that have lost on their opening weekend. In your experience, how do you keep that on track? I know it's just one game, but it is the season opener. How do you keep your guys focused and on track now?
Well, I think that exactly what you said. Look, we need to get back on track, and the way you do that is go practice the right way, prepare the right way, and go get you a win on Saturday. And that's what we plan on doing. And the past is the past. We need to move on, learn from our mistakes, which we made plenty as coaches and players, and move on. But practice the right way, prepare the right way to have the confidence to play better in the next ball game, and that's what we plan on doing.
How is Jake handling this, and what kind of role or attitude do you expect him to assume going forward?
Well, it's hard. The guy puts everything into being the quarterback here at South Carolina, and it's very difficult. It's hard. But he was at practice today. He wants to be in the meetings. He wants to be involved to help Ryan and to carry on and be a leader, and that's who he is. That's the type of person he is. That's how he was raised, and so that's why he'll be successful in life.
Obviously, you're early in this process with Jake, but he still has a redshirt year available. Is that something that you have discussed with him?
We haven't discussed anything right now. It's a tough time right now.
Coach, aside from the tangibles, how have you seen Ryan grow since coming in here in the spring?
Oh, I think he's done a really nice job of learning the offense and spending the time he's got to spend, whether it's in the film room or the weight room or the practice field. And, I'm excited about Ryan. He's got a lot of arm talent, a lot of ability. And I think he'll play extremely well. We got a lot of confidence in him and the job that he'll do on Saturday and playing quarterback here at South Carolina.
Well, 2 things. How soon will you know whether Jake's going to need surgery or not?
latter part of the week, it's more than anything, we're getting a second opinion just to make sure that we're right on the diagnosis to this point, and we'll know more later in the week.
How's Bobby holding up with this?
It's tough. It's
Yeah.
hard. Yep.
Well, and going from a senior in Jake to a freshman and Ryan at quarterback, I mean, what have you seen out of Ryan's leadership to be able to really kind of rally this group around him as he's getting ready to start for the first time?
Well, I think that Ryan does a really good job. He's not a very vocal guy, but he has a certain air about him as far as that position is concerned, and that you got to have that to be at that position, in my opinion. So. Again, Ryan will be fine. Our players have a lot of confidence in Ryan, and we do as a staff as well. And I think it's most important to what was asked earlier is let's make sure we're doing the things that Ryan feels comfortable with, in this first ball game and as we continue to move forward. And certainly DeCarrion's role will be important as well.
What was kind of the initial moment when you called Ryan in and had that conversation about telling him he was going to start? What was his response? What was that moment like?
He said, "Let's go."
Well, looking back at the film and the tackling issues, is it frustrating to have to kind of, reteach and relearn that stuff when it should be known?
We didn't have any issues in training camp. I felt like there were major issues there, but all teachable moments to go back and look at. But I thought their backs ran hard. I thought they had good backs, but we're going to face good backs all year. So that's part of it. But we'll continue to work.
I got two questions for you. The 2 touchdown passes that North Carolina completed against your secondary, what did you see on the film on the mistakes that your defenders made? And then number 2, you probably haven't heard or read anything about what's being said about you by the media or by the fans, some members of the Gamecock fan base. What message would you send out to those Gamecock fans who may have lost confidence in you following this loss?
Well, I'll answer on the secondary. I think in Israel's situation, he checked the back shoulder because they were a back shoulder team. It wasn't back shoulder. He worked himself in what we call in phase, and I really think there he should have turned with his right hand to get the receiver's left hand down. The guy made a heck of a catch. He popped it to himself and caught it. But you take your off hand and you go for the left elbow in that situation. And I felt like if he had done that and reached in and we probably would have gotten the ball out in that situation. In John's situation, he lost it a little bit on the line of scrimmage because he turned a little bit and let the guy get too much of a vertical release on him. He was able to stack him more in the down. But in that situation, again, you've got to go up and play the ball out of phase with your back to the ball, not panic and try and get the elbow down. Because the elbow disrupts the hands as far as catching the football is concerned. So I think in both situations, again, I've seen both young men make those plays before in camp against good people. So we just got to, that's the fine line in winning and losing the game. You look at that and you take the critical third down conversion on our sideline coming out. I think it was 3rd and 4. On what we call an inside fade, inside steam ball on our sideline where Jam's got the same situation. He's in position to make a play on the ball. We got to get an elbow down, especially if we're working with what I call, Phil, from an out-of-phase position. You're not in phase to be able to play the ball because we would naturally, if you're in phase, we want to play the football in those situations. You know what? We're pissed off too. As coaches, as staffs, we're in a little bit of a bunker mentality. I don't read your articles and podcasts or whatever you do. So at the end of the day, it's about what do we need to do to win. And let's try and rally to win games. And that's what we're going to do as a staff, and that's what we're going to do as a team, and what we're going to do as an organization. So help us win games. That would be my message. Let's go help us win some football games. And that's what we plan on doing.
With regard to the defensive line, first, how's Keir Thomas coming along? When do you expect him back? And what did you see after reviewing that film? Do you expect to make any changes there in rotation, starters, anything like that?
No, Keir, John, I'm not sure exactly when that's going to happen. I know it's not this week and probably not next week, but I'll know more probably in a week and a half is what I got Sunday when we talked a little bit about where he is. They're still pumping antibiotics in him to make sure that they get the infection handled. Javon and Kobe, I thought, played well. I think those guys played well. Our young guys got to continue to come on. I thought Dennis Warren did some good things. Other than that, I think we need to play better in some just gap integrity things up front. But I thought Javon and Kobe both played well.
When you look at the linebacker and safety play overall, what kind of issues did you sort of see there? Was a lot of that fundamental, or was it something else?
No, I think that a couple misfits at the linebacker position created some issues. One misfit from the safety created an explosive run that was a critical time in the game when the ball spit out on us for 22 yards. We had 2 unblocked players running inside out, and I guess at the edge of the defense. So, again, some things that we just need to do a better job coaching.
I guess when you look at how the situation has fallen with the quarterbacks, what does it say about DeCarrion's perspective to kind of stick with stuff, stay part of the program in a world where a lot of quarterbacks leave, stuff changes 1 week later, and all of a sudden you guys kind of need him in that big way?
Well, I mean, again, I don't want to clump all transfers into one thing because they're all different situations and they all have different perspectives. And the thing that I can tell you about DeCarron, I know he loves the University of South Carolina. He loves being here. He loves his teammates. His teammates love him. And I appreciate his character and I appreciate his perseverance through a very difficult time, difficult decision for everybody. And I told him, just trust us and we'll move forward in the right direction and do what's best for you and the team moving forward. And let's give us this thing a fall. And he's been nothing but great. But that's who he is. That's how he's been raised. That's the type person he is.
Well, what kind of an advantage is it to have a guy like Donnell Stanley on your offensive line when you're starting a true freshman quarterback?
Well, again, that's a guy that's going to communicate really well for him and to be a calming influence for Ryan. And there's no doubt that Donnell's a very valuable member of our organization. All right, y'all have a good one.